Hi, how are you? Well, from Costa Rica, we are still getting a lot of rain. Those tropical storms are still in effect. Oh well, that's okay. I'm going to sit inside on my swing while I chat today. How are you? How are you doing? Yesterday we were talking about disappointment, the feeling of disappointment, and it's a low vibrational feeling, emotion, and it's not serving us. And we talked about changing that, transposing that, considering that we could take that out of our vocabulary and begin to use acceptance rather than disappointment. We're going to accept that things may be going differently than what we had expected, and we're just going to wait, watch, pay attention, and accept it. Today, as I was sitting here watching the rain, I dug out my universal card deck and I drew the universal law card of authenticity. And I thought, wow, that kind of goes along with being authentic, or releasing those old feelings, disappointment, fear, so that we can live authentically. If you have disappointment in your life, it's hard to move forward, I think. When we think about authenticity, it's about how do you live true to yourself. Each and every person is here to experience life in a different way. You aren't here to experience life the way your parents experienced it. Oftentimes our parents influence us. We're little children and we're just being very influenced and kind of programmed through society, television, and our parents and our families. And we have ideas, we make decisions about life at a very young age. And maybe those decisions are not really our decisions. They're someone else's decisions that we've accepted. So as an adult, sometimes we don't feel like we really know ourselves. We don't really feel that we're living, the way that we want to live, because, we have to live up to what society is expecting of us, what our family expects of us. Often that is the case. Often that's the case. And we have, as parents, sometimes often we like to guide our children in ways that feel right to us. But they are here to express life in their own way. Each and every person that's on the planet has the opportunity to live their life in the way that they choose to live their life. Sometimes that's frustrating for us because we think we know better. But, my dad used to say it's the school of hard knocks. It's kind of is that way. You learn through experience, through testing things out, what works for you. Many people go and take a job, a career, and they work for 10, 15, 20 years, and they realize that really that's not giving them joy. It's maybe even causing them some dis-ease and illness because it's not congruent to what they want, desire, and what's right for them. It doesn't resonate. You maybe have experienced things that you've done and accepted, but then after a few years you realize that it's not really what I want to do. It's not really what I want to do. I want to do something else. And it's your responsibility, I believe, to embrace your uniqueness, live authentically, and create the life that you truly desire. If you were to meet someone tomorrow and you had, an afternoon together and you needed to know this person well, so you decide whether you want to be a friend with them, maybe. And what would you do in order to learn about them? One way is to choose or create 10 questions. 10 questions so you could really learn about their dislikes, their likes, what their values are, what's the most important thing to them, where are they planning to experience in life, you really figure out what makes them tick, right? You might be interested in their philosophies and their spiritual connections or whatever is important to you. You write down these 10 questions and then turn around and answer them for yourself. I remember my mother, she was probably 35. She had owned a small women's clothing store. And I was working in her store, so I was a teenager at the time. And I remember her talking to the women, and she was saying, I don't even know who I am. Really, I don't even know who I am. I'm Bob's, wife. I'm Bonnie's mother. I'm, this, that, and the other thing. But who am I? I think a lot of people feel that. They don't really know who they are. And it takes time to sort that out. Because, we grow up with these programs and we're these little sponges and we think, that we're this and we're really not. At quite a young age, I started to use oracle cards and tarot cards. My mother and I went on a course to learn how to read tarot cards. I was quite young. But what I did was I used those cards as a way to learn about me. It's not about fortune telling. You can use these cards to learn about yourself, what makes you tick. So, the card that comes up, that's worth the meditation. How does that relate to you? Some people would use a book, like you might use a self-help book and turn to page 25 and read the last paragraph on the page. That might be, and you learn something about you. How does it relate to you? Some people might use a Bible. Open the book to whatever page it opens, and it's the first verse on the page. So there's many ways to learn about you, but this one way to take these questions and ask yourself what makes you tick, what's important to you, I think is important. Because how can you really create the life that you truly desire if you really don't know what is important? A lot of people are struggling at an older age trying to figure out what to do with their lives. Or they might feel like they've missed the boat. Wow, I wasted so many years and I was doing something that was not right. I stayed with the wrong person. Whatever it is, right? And so that was that. And I think that right now we're at a time of big change. And that means that when we decide to move forward and we do it authentically and we release our baggage, it's hard to move forward. If you're afraid of change and fear is an illusion, what's causing you to be afraid? You need to work on that to release that. I think a lot of people are fearful these days, or they get caught up in the drama that's happening around the world, and it really affects them. It makes me think of a time when I was taking my hypnotherapy training, and it came to the point where we were having to hypnotize each other. And as I was observing this happening, I was so into the story or into what was going on with the person who was being hypnotized that I had to leave the room because I was, tears, and I was just beside myself. And the instructor was like, you have to, what's going on with you? You're in the hot seat. Because how could you possibly do this work if you're going to absorb and own what the other person is experiencing? Well, I spent my whole life being quite a teary child. So much so that my parents took me to a doctor. What's wrong with this kid? And they sent me to a psychologist. And they did all kinds of tests and talks and blah, blah, blah. And ended up, the doctor said, she's fine, but mama probably needs to have some therapy, So I am an empath. And, you read a story, you read a book, you watch a show, you listen to somebody tell you something, you're in tears. That was my life until, a long time, until I took my hypnotherapy training, which was a long, long time. It's hard to live authentically when you're in everybody else's stuff. It's really hard because you're picking up on everybody else's emotions. How can you can't even think clear, right? You feel very emotional and you don't even really know why. It's not good. If that's you, that's the number one place to start. That's the number one place to start. Try to figure out that. Get strong. Get strong. Yeah. And I did. We had a hypnosis session in my class, and I was on the hot seat, and I let go of the root cause of that, why I was like that. And from that moment on, I no longer cried when somebody told me a sad story. I would feel, I could feel for them, but not feel it, which was huge, huge. I can take clients and I can help them. I definitely feel compassion for them, but I'm not experiencing it with them. This is a big difference. You don't need to experience it with them. If you are feeling emotional about what's going on across the planet, across the world, it's important that we feel compassion and that we care, but not so much that it's affecting us that we're not able to live our lives. That is fear or something that needs to be released, because that's not serving you, and you're going to have a hard time moving along the most magnificent path that you need to move along right now, because life's going to get good. It's coming down. It's getting tough, but now is the time that we really can begin to create beautiful lives, caring lives. This is the way I see it. So be authentic and get ready, because I think we have a full moon coming up pretty soon. So we want to be ready to set intentions and decide what it is that we want in our lives. I want sunshine. I got about a month to summer, so can't wait. Take care. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. Bye-bye.